Chapter 7. Corpramulta. Larry holds his wife. After spending all morning out in the October air, it's like hugging a radiator. He doesn't let go for several moments. "Where's this coming from?" she asks. "I love you, Ben," he tells her. "I love you too, Lawrence." He frowns down at her. "Something wrong?" She squints up at him. "I could ask you the same question." He sighs and lets go. His heart whines for him to go back into her arms, but he walks over to the couch and sits down. She follows and sits beside him. "Just stressed, hon," he assures her. "Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine by the end of the week." "End of the week?" she scoffs. "It's Thursday." "Jesus," thinks Larry. He turns to her and smiles. "Time flies when you're having fun." She sighs and looks away, but rests her head on his shoulder. His phone buzzes. It's the chief, expecting him and Ben to meet her at the college after lunch. He groans inwardly. "I have to go," he says. "She better be gorgeous," Ben threatens. Larry laughs. "I think you'd be disappointed." She gives him a look. He returns it with a smile and a shrug. She scoffs and gets up from the couch. "Come home safe." "I promise." Chief Isaacs is already at the college when Ben arrives. The grinning sun beams down at them, betraying the grave circumstances that have brought him here. Larry arrives soon after, and the three of them climb the stairs to the biology department. Megan greets them as they enter the lab. Ben expects her arm to be covered in the rash that so mysteriously appeared when she started studying the lump, but her skin looks radiant. "The professor is in his office," she explains. "He'll be out soon." "Has he found a way to kill it?" Larry asks bluntly. "Not yet," she apologizes. "Not efficiently, at least." She leads them to a row of test tubes on the counter, each containing a tiny sample of the flesh. "What have you found?" asks the chief. "It's not invincible," she responds. "Just like any other organism, it can be harmed by extreme temperature, extreme pH, physical trauma, etc., etc. But it almost always comes back. All it takes is for a few cells to survive." "Carpenter said it needs tissues from other organisms to function," says Ben, "but that it doesn't actually incorporate their DNA." "Right," says Meg. "So if you kill those tissues, how can it recover?" "Well, if you did manage to kill all the foreign tissues in its body," she explains, "it would have to find new ones to rebuild itself, but it could still manage." Ben nods. "The thing is," she continues, "it has these little organs distributed throughout its body where it stores the stem cells it's collected. It's really hard to destroy all of them without throwing the whole thing into an incinerator." "Did you say stem cells?" asks the chief. Megan's eyes light up. "Yes." She picks up a petri dish. Across the agar is a grayish, meaty growth that doesn't resemble the other samples. "It has enzymes that create stem cells from any tissue. We managed to grow this from a mouse's skin." "That's incredible," says Ben. "The only problem," she says, "is that we can't get it to work without contaminating the tissue's genome with DNA from the Corpramulta carpenteri. We need a grant to get any real results." "Corpramulta carpenteri?" Ben parrots. Meg nods. "That's what we named it." "I don't like this," says the chief. "We're trying to destroy this thing, not use it to make clones." Megan shrugs and returns the petri dish to the counter. "It's not illegal." "We'll see." The door swings open as the professor enters the room. He carries a stack of papers to the counter and presents it to Megan. "Miss Palladino," he says, "would you mind filling these out for me?" Megan gives him a funny look, but takes the papers to a nearby desk. "Sure thing, boss." "I see you've discovered our mouse," the professor says, indicating the petri dish. "What do you think?" "I think it's a damn good thing this place isn't funded by the state," says the chief. She points to the test tubes lining the wall. "It looks like you're doing more to keep this thing alive than to kill it." "Science is a many-pronged trident," says Dr. Carpenter. "The hell is that supposed to mean?" asks Larry. "You can't force it," the professor explains. "We must look at the problem from every conceivable angle before it can be solved. That's what we're doing. We find out how the creature lives, we can deduce how to destroy it. Simple as that." "And you're not looking for grant money to fund stem cell research?" asks the chief. "Not at this juncture, no, but once this mess is behind us, we might." "This mess has gotten bigger," says Larry. He pulls out his phone and shows the professor the video from his body cam. Megan abandons her paperwork to come watch with them. "My God," says the professor. "I've never seen anything work this fast before." "You mean it tearing people apart?" Professor Carpenter looks up on the phone. "Not growing," he explains. It must be getting more efficient at absorbing foreign cells. It hardly even needs mitosis. It infected the brain of one of my officers, the chief informs him. The woman you see there being absorbed into the trunk, it spat her out with something planted in her skull. It seemed like it was controlling her somehow. I had to kill it. Did you happen to remove what was controlling her? I removed it from existence. Doubtful, the professor says, returning to replay the video. Do you have footage of that encounter? My body cam was turned off, says the chief. You were the only one there. I was. Pity. I agree. I don't know what I'm going to tell those officers' families. A story about some diseased brown bear doesn't really do their legacy justice. The professor sighs and returns the phone to Larry. He stands up straight. We will redouble our efforts to combat this infestation. With your permission, I'd like to get a few more of my students working on the problem. Send me their names first, says the chief. We'll run background checks and let you know if they can be trusted. I think I know my own. We'll let you know. Very well. Ben clears his throat. Megan had a rash on her arm last time we saw her, he says. What happened to it? The professor frowns and turns to Megan. I never saw a rash. I did have one, Megan says, blushing, but it cleared up. What does that have to do with anything? Asks the chief. It showed up when they started working with the carpentry, says Ben. I was afraid it might have been some kind of infection from the lump. It wasn't, Megan assures him. Sorry, says Ben. Didn't mean to embarrass you. He didn't. The chief eyes her suspiciously. You'll let us know as soon as you find anything. Of course, responds the professor. I'll be waiting by the phone.